Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Coffee Tea, You and Me. We're here with Coach Powell. You get to join me here on the couch in my home studio, talking to you every single Friday around about the 3 p.m. hour on issues that affect small businesses, issues that affect your small women and minority-owned businesses that I think are so important to get out there to talk about and to develop, right? So I don't come up with these issues by myself, by the way. A lot of times it's through in engagement with other clients and engagement with social networking with colleagues and professionals from all over the small business world, right? And I listen and I understand what people are coming up with in terms of issues that are um, in front of them, problems that they have to deal with. And then we take it back to our think tank. We take it back to, my coaching family and friends, and we come up with these various types of programs that will help entrepreneurs and small business leaders focus a little bit more on creating the environments that they want to create. Today's program is no different. Today is we're continuing on a series of talks and discussions about, what you need to do to create a better, stronger, more competitive workplace culture, whether that's, in your organizations that you may belong to, or in any groups or teams that, you may feel like you need to work and serve, right? So this is for leaders on and off the field. Everywhere you go, you need to understand these very, very valuable lessons that are highlighted in a program that I created years ago called the RAPapproach. The RAPapproach is basically a program that helps people understand how to connect better with one another. And the acronym RAP stands for respect, affection, and praise. Now, imagine what your life would be like if you walked into the universes, into different worlds that you in different environments that you get to play in, no matter what role you are there, where you felt tremendously respected. People honored and adored you, right? And they always make sure to show you what they mean by that when they say they respect you, when they say that you're an important person to them and you're adding meaningful, relevant, significant input and quality investments into their world. What does that look like? How does that show up in their feelings, right? So there's that's that affection part. And then there's also understanding how praise works. How do you articulate? How do you enunciate? How do you communicate to a person in a way that others can begin to understand the value that they bring to the table for you? if you understand the skills, the tactics, and the processes of the RAP approach, you're going to be the kind of leader that is not only effective and efficient, but the kind of leader that generates positivity and the kinds of outcomes that are needed to help human beings reach the maximum parts of their productivity and thrive. That's what the RAP approach is all about. And so I hope you dig in and sharpen your pencils and um, get out all your notebooks and all of your note-taking devices, your camera phones, and everything that you need to join in with us, because this is one of the most important ideas that I think of our day, specifically given the polarization in our country, the different things that that are bringing people and separating people. This is an opportunity to learn how to bring people together, to learn how to develop coalitions and collaborative partnerships, and learn how to go deeper. So I hope you're really paying attention to today's topic. Before we get into today's topic, I want to give a brief commercial break. Yeah. I love this one. I love that. I love that. Welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me once again. For those of you on the listening audience, I want to make sure that you understand the nature of the show, right? So what we try to do here at Coffee Tea, You and Me is totally different than you may have seen in other areas. This is a business friendly show. Let's start with that, right? So we want to make sure that the entrepreneurs and business leaders, those of you who take your time to come by and chat with us and leave comments and are truly engaged. And so I want you to make sure that if there's something that's going on in your business that you want to announce, go ahead and announce that on the chat. Welcome people to this event link, or welcome people to this idea, this thought, or whatever about your business, your contact information. If that's important or valuable to get out to them, please do so. I don't want you to hide your light under the bushel. I don't want you to pretend like you don't have anything important going on, because I know you do. So please share your information in the chat. Tell us what city you're coming from. Tell us, how you found out about the show, any information that you possibly can. And most of all, if you have any questions about the topic, please feel free to ask those questions. I can't always answer all questions on the air, but I promise you that we will answer your questions. And if you don't feel comfortable putting your question in the chat, guess what? My contact information is scrolling right across the screen. So the only excuse you have for not getting your questions answered is you don't want to try. You don't want to reach out. You don't want to produce the effort. And as a coach, I'm going to tell you, you're not doing anything if you're not generating any effort behind it, right? You have to have a desire and a willingness to generate the ideas and thoughts, the processes that you want to engage in order to move yourself, move your teams, move your family, move your community, move your organizations forward. So let's get on it. Let's get in it. Today's topic is super simple. It's not simple. It's actually complex, but I'm going to try to do what I can to simplify it for you. We've been talking about the RAP approach, right? We've talked about respect. We've talked about the biblical concepts of respect. We've talked about the actual process of respect, professional respect, and what it means to people, and how it's moved forward, and some techniques and some strategies. If you want to watch that stuff, you can go back and watch some of the previous shows we've done on it, right? But today we're going to get into the area of respect that I think is probably the most unique and the most special. Really, it's the neurological response to a professional workplace culture, right? So if you get this right, and there's a respectful culture in the places that you go into, or you create that respectful culture in the places that you go into, you can look forward to having people develop their brain, having people around you become not just more familiar with you, but more familiar with themselves, and more in contact with the kind of habits that drive themselves forward and drive not just, again, productivity, but thriving. You don't want people to just be workhorses and just get it done, and produce. You want people to get it done, but enjoy the doing. And in doing so, making sure that they have the energy to keep going harder and harder and harder, and keep thriving and keep being happy and keep being successful. That's what you want to try to create. And that's not something that our traditional leadership structures have been good at sharing with people, because we don't talk a lot about emotional intelligence and how that all boils out. We don't talk a lot about the brain, the neuroscience behind good, solid well-being practices in the workplace. And so we're going to share some ideas and some concepts with you today. And I know for a fact, if you begin to truly understand what we're trying to communicate and what we're saying here, you're going to be an absolute badass when it comes to dealing with every workplace that you deal with. And I want you to understand that wherever people are, these energies and these processes are something that you need to think about. It helps you to be more productive. It helps you to be more effective, and it helps you to really, truly become a person that people love being around. So let's talk about this. There are neurological effects of professional respect that every leaders need to understand. They need to understand how to foster it. They need to understand how to create it. This respect thing, this professional respect thing we talk about, is not just a social nicety. It's not just something that you do because it's what is expected in society. No, no, no. This thing has profound effects that can enhance your workplace and the individual well-being of everyone involved. And there are 5 key areas in which these effects take place. And you must understand, if you're going to be the kind of leader that generates organizational cultures that are productive, innovative, and inclusive. Let me repeat. If you want to be the kind of leader that generates organizational cultures that are productive, innovative, and inclusive, you are going to have to understand how this works. And you're going to have to understand how the brain functions under these processes. So let's get into it. My buddy Stephen Covey says, trust is the glue of life. It is the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships. So what happens when you have a high trust environment? You create a high trust environment where individuals feel respected. Their brain actually releases oxytocin, which enhances feelings of trust and cooperation. So how does that work? When you're able to foster tremendous levels and high levels of trust in any environment that you're in, what happens is people feel better working on the team. They feel better being on the team. They feel like they belong to the team. There is an increased level of collaboration and a more cohesive work environment. Groups that take advantage of this are able to develop a collective superpower, that consistently generates tremendous impact in every effort that they ever endeavor on. Why? It's simply because they love being and working together. Folks, I don't know if you have understand this to be true in your workplace and in your life, but this is how winning gets done. Now, oxytocin is the hormone that is secreted in our brains that help us feel connected to one another. It's often called the trust hormone. I've heard people call it the love hormone. When you've gotten together and you're within a group and the group has just high level, everybody understands each other, everybody knows, respects each other in a way that respect should be happening. And it just feels good to be in an environment of professionals who are all committed, who are all bringing something to the table that you recognize, right? It's not just, they can bring something to the table that they recognize, but if you don't recognize it, if you don't respect what they bring to the table, then it's hard to feel good about working with them. It's hard to feel good about having them on the team. And I'm sure you've been in teams and on teams in your life, in your professional world, where you wonder if someone's actually bringing their A game, if someone's actually doing the best that they can for the team if they're really committed. And, if you get the sense that they're not really committed, but no one's doing anything about it, no one's saying anything about it, no one's trying to correct that behavior, then it becomes difficult to continue to give your best in that same environment when everyone else seems to just kind of be phoning it in, right? They're not really engaging, they're not really giving you the benefit of the doubt when it comes to working on things, right? So that's one. You got to create that environment where there's high oxytocin levels just bumping around the team. Everybody needs to learn to love, and everybody needs to learn to trust and respect one another on the team. There's exercises that you can do, which if we have time, we can get into it, to help increase those oxytocin levels in your group. That's number one. Number two is when you get this right, you're going to reduce stress and anxiety in the team, no matter what the pressure that you're having from the outside to perform or to do work on greater projects or do better programs. When you understand how professional respect works, you can do a lot to reduce the stress and anxiety of, say, a deadline or a production schedule that is tremendously challenging, right? So you think about this. I want you to think about this quote from Confucius. Confucius says, respect yourself and others will respect you. Now, this one I really love because when you think about it, who's responsible for reducing your stress and your anxiety? Because if you make others responsible for that, and I'm not saying they don't bear any responsibility for it at all, right? I am saying, though, the more responsibility you can take for it, then you will learn to take the time to counteract that stress and anxiety with respect. What do I mean by that? When you show respect to yourself, you are showing yourself that you honor and you love yourself regularly with some kind of discipline, practice, and behavior, right? These things that you practice, these techniques or tactics that you would practice will help you own your own emotions, right? The stories that you tell yourself about yourself will come from a place of growth and satisfaction. If you can regularly demonstrate these activities to yourself, you will see yourself growing mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You will be able to validate your own greatness from within. Now, if you're feeling this good about yourself, if you're literally loving and adoring yourself, and you can see the growth that you are experiencing from doing so, what do you think happens inside your brain? What do you think happens inside your world? What happens is you begin to lower your own cortisol levels, right? This is the stress hormone, right? You feel less chronic stress and you are regularly high on your own energy and your own esteem, right? There's a book that if you get a chance to read called The Mojo Effect, right? I want you to check that out. That's from one of the baddest coaches in the world, Marshall Goldsmith. Wrote. I think it's either The Mojo Effect or The Mojo Quadrant. It's something to do with Mojo. That's a good book to really, really help you understand how you go into flow state, right? How people go into flow state and how you can literally help them go into flow state by modeling this self-love, by modeling this connection to yourself in a wonderful way. People are going to see you working out. People are going to see, oh, wow, you've been meditating. It's having a positive effect on your attitude. People are going to see, you've been sharing and being with others that love and you love them. And it's going to help you show and create that love. And people are going to see you doing those things, and see the benefits that are the changes that are happening in you when you do it and you do it well. I see my girl GI is popping in. Good to see you, GI. Let me know when you're ready to play, sister girl. I'll bring you on camera. We're talking about professional respect and how it's all connected to the success of your organization and the teams, right? So when you model this behavior correctly, what happens is you have higher emotional regulation, right? You literally create a legitimate claim to peace for yourself, and you help others by demonstrating how you're doing this, right? So it's important that you don't just, oh, I'm gonna go into myself and fix myself, right? You need to share with the teams that you're working with, how you're doing, not just because, or not just to have them um, be your accountability partner or stuff like that. That's important, right? But it's also important for you to speak it out loud. I'm going on a program to increase my cardiovascular health, or I'm going to be dealing with an opportunity that I have to develop myself spiritually and grow in that world, right? Don't you don't have to keep that to yourself, because if you keep it to yourself, nobody will be able to see the results of what you're doing, and they won't, when they're connecting with you, when they're working with you, they won't know, where is this coming from? Where is this peace you seem to have? Where is this control of your stress and anxiety? Where is that coming from? And maybe you could teach me how to do it, right? You're going to get that when you are not secretive, or you're transparent. So let's put it that way, about how you're getting from point A to point B in your professional and your workplace stress management, right? This is the key to emotional regulation, is being able to manage the highs and the lows on your own, of what comes in front of you in the workplace, in the groups that you belong to, in the organizations that you deal with. Your ability to do that, it radiates outward to everyone else. Now, in the document that I'm creating right now, not the one that's in the chat for you, but the document I'm creating right now, there are 6 keys that leaders use to create healthy environments, right? And I'm not going to break that down today unless there's any questions about that. But that's a part of, again, managing your stress, managing your anxiety, and making sure that you're doing what you can to effectively create a great example and a great position and a great space in the universe, right? Also today, wanted to make sure I share with you number 3. After you've understood how to increase the oxytocin, right, decrease the cortisol, get ready, really, 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 really manage the stress. What has to happen is you have to enhance the dopamine production, right? What is dopamine? Dopamine is that amazing hormone. It's a neurotransmitter, right, that is associated with pleasure and reward. When dopamine is present in your space and in your brain, it allows you to focus, it allows you to be more motivated, it boosts your engagement, your satisfaction is higher, your productivity, your creativity, everything jumps up when there's high levels of dopamine around, right? My a good quote from for to help you understand this is William James. William James says, the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. It is in our nature to seek and share acts of respect, of recognition, of being valued and motivated. All right, these things trigger that dopamine release. These things make us feel amazing, right? When you know that someone authentically appreciates the gifts that you bring to the table, and they show that with you and they share that with you, man, there's no better feeling. One of the reasons why, when I'm coaching mentors to deal with their proteges, one of the reasons that they seem to keep coming back to the mentorship process, even as their proteges develop and move on, and they get a new protege, they develop and move on, they keep coming back to that mentorship process because it feels so good to have someone. And this a question I asked them, I've asked thousands of them, what makes you keep coming back to being a mentor? What makes you feel good about being a mentor? And what they tend to say, you would be amazed. They tend to say that their proteges listen to them act upon the guidance, the directions, the questions, or whatever the mentorship process is for them. They see the growth in their proteges because of the mentorship, right? And it feels so good because they know that they're contributing. They know for a fact that they're doing something relevant, they're doing something special, they're doing something meaningful. All right. And that's wonderful. Eh, uh, my girl GI said she's not coming on camera today, but I do want her to bless you guys really quickly with a little knowledge and drop some information on you guys. So if you want to, GI, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone? They already know you, but I want to make sure they get a chance to give them a little bit of that GI love.
I don't know about that, brother. I have missed you and your family. What an honor it is to be with you. I'm a little bit under the weather, been traveling back to back. But this topic is speaking to me in so many ways. And I have learned the power of time and space, right? When you find yourself in a toxic situation, it can be a one-time incident. It
Yep.
can be you're in it for a short period of time, and then God forbid that you're in it for that is your situation, right? At work where you have to be there for the livelihood and security of your family and well-being. I have found that time and space are immensely powerful. The techniques I use is I just say nothing for a moment, sometimes
Right.
for a long period of time, because
Yeah.
I'm self-evaluating first, right? To say,
Yes.
am I overreacting? Am I being triggered by previous other people's behaviors, right? And
Right.
then, I find that situations that seem like I must say something, I had to tell him this, or I had to engage, or I have to take this action, that space makes that thing that seemed big small.
Yes. 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 I often say, just because you're a hero and just because there's a dragon doesn't mean you have to slay it.
Oh my God, brother.
It
Powerful.
might not be your dragon to slay. You know what I'm saying? So you have to really ask yourself the question, what happens if I let this one go? What what
Exactly.
what if is this gonna derail the program? Is this gonna cause a problem for the process?
Yes.
Or is this gonna really, really take us back? Or whatever. Then if it's not, then part of me's like, I can save this energy I have right now.
Ooh, ooh,
you
ooh,
know,
ooh.
for
Energy
something that's
conservation. Energy
right. That's
conservation.
that's more important. And then when I make the choice, and this is what Dr. Covey says really, really so brilliantly, in between the stimulus and the response is your ability to choose because you
Mm.
have response ability. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, time out.
wow.
That one
Wow.
that one blew me away, because
Wow.
we have the choice. We make that choice to respond, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that our response is going in the record, right? No matter what, no matter whether it's written the record or in people's experience of us, that's the record, right?
Mm, mm,
Our response is what's going in, and we get a chance to control that by deciding for ourselves.
mm-hmm.
And you talked about it. I've heard you talked about it many times. What is our brand? What is our image? What do you want people to know about you, believe about you, have faith and trust in you for? You have to be able to you have to be able to you control that by how you contribute, and how you
Exactly.
contribute is usually your response. But that's
And
that's
and
it,
it's our response. I just want to speak to that real quick. Can be verbal or nonverbal.
absolutely.
People
Oh, absolutely.
people are reading our nonverbals as loudly, and if not louder, than our
Mhm.
nonverbals. They're reading our tone because you can say, I don't like you, and you can say, I don't like you. There's a total difference in that response, and that second one registers in a way that will never be erased. right?
Awesome.
And the last thing I'll say, because I know you dropping so many bricks, brother, and I just again admire the way that you continually not only stimulate my mind and intellect, but how you do it for your audience. Is that my mentor, I call him 13th disciple. He said, Michelle, if you give all your energy for what you're fighting against, you won't have any energy left for what you're fighting for. And
Ooh,
it was just that just resonates with me. Okay, I need to preserve my energy
right.
for the good I'm attempting to do, and to leave the fight against the bad for I'm a woman of faith, God, and I'm gonna call it the universe. You reap what you sow, for him to take care of the rest. So I'll pause. I know you're on a time strain, but I'm always honored to have space and time with you.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm gonna leave you on audio, so just in case you want to jump in anywhere you can, right? So we just come on in. The fourth idea when it comes to this um, neurological responses in any culture, any organization, any group you belong to is improved emotional regulation. Now, I can't say this strongly enough. Your emotional regulation is your emotional regulation, right? You really have to take the time to examine yourself and understand what it is that you bring to the table from a positive neurological response. How do you respect other people and show them and demonstrate to them that you actually honor and adore them, right? I almost like want to kill the word respect, because what it means is to honor and adore somebody for something specific that they have done or that you have witnessed or you have seen them approach, right? And so if you don't know them, you can't really respect them. If you haven't seen them or haven't been around them or haven't been under their influence, you have nothing to respect them for. Just because they're walking and breathing does not give you what you need to honor and adore them. And that's the definition of respect. And so I think we got to really reclaim that definition of respect. And when we come back to emotional regulation, now it's how you feel when you get the opportunity to be in the presence of these people. And sometimes, if you go back to the thing that you honor and respect about them, you get to control that emotion that might jump up in you, that negative emotion that might jump up in you, because you remember the good times. You remember the things that they said and did that really, really were special to you, right? That's why it's important for you to look for opportunities to respect the people that you get to talk to, that you get to interact with, specifically those who could have a higher impact on your career, on your business, or whatever, your financial officers or people that you're going to be working with to help you find the next level, the board members that you're trying to get, the people that you're trying to influence. These people, they need to know what they mean to you, because whatever the transaction is you're trying to do with them is not going to matter as much as that expression of affection and that expression of love. So Miguel Angel Ruiz says, respect is one of the greatest expressions of love. And I agree. When I wrote the 100% closing ratio, which is a course that I teach for sales professionals to really understand how to develop relationships with the sales uh, key people that would develop opportunities and relationships with them, professional relationships with them. Um, what I teach people to do is to really listen, listen so hard to somebody else, ask the kinds of questions that stimulate them to reflect and get that prefrontal cortex working, right? That's what we're talking about, the brain and neurological effects of things, right? Because when people start to really think deeply, they don't respond from fear. They don't respond from um, judgment. They don't respond from a point of one of my good friends, Renee. I can't remember her last name. It'll come to me in just a second. But she studies fear, anger, um, depression, and self judgment, things like that. negative self-talk, all those things. He studies those things and professionals and how they come about. And what happens is, what happens is usually, like Michelle indicated earlier, there's been some past, some trauma, some baggage, some damage, some kind of thing that has happened in the past that makes you see that before you're seeing the person and the people that you get to work for, right? That's where gratitude comes in. And if you have that people that have a level of mutual respect in an environment that you're in, it's easy for you to give them the benefit of the doubt when they say something they shouldn't have said. It's easy for you to gloss over and let that dragon be slain by somebody else at some other time, right? If you remember when they were amazing, if you remember when they helped you do something, or when you remember help something special happen and they were a chief and you witnessed it, right? But once you but that's you, that's your ability to bring that emotional regulation and stop from the amygdala hijack. We call that, as that's when something happens and you jump right into fear, or you jump right into shame or blame or guilt. And instead of doing that, you take a time to breathe, you take a time to relax, you take a time to think, and ask yourself the question: who am I in this space, and how do I want to show up? And in the 100% closing ratio, we go in deep and teach people how to do that, because it's super important. Just because somebody tells you no doesn't mean they're rejecting you, the person. And you have to think about that differently. You have to learn how to reframe with the feelings that you're going to have when you have rejection, because it's just an opportunity. That's just a starting point, really, for a negotiation. It's an opportunity for you to learn. It's an opportunity for you to grow. It's an opportunity for you to understand better what someone else is experiencing, what they're thinking, and what's going on, which helps you professionally learn how to close bigger and better deals. And so, in the 100% closing ratio, we really get into, how you deal with the negative emotions that people may be trying to place in your world, and how do you deal with that and turn that around so that it's a learning tool. Turn it around so that it's fuel to continue to be in the fight, to be in the struggle, to be in the whatever engagement that you're in. And so this is so important that you learn to regulate your own emotions, right? Learn to regulate how you feel and what you're going to do when it comes to others. And if you don't get this for the workplace, please tell me you get this for your family, because you know um, it's easy for parents and especially teenagers to just get this wrong, right? They forget in the heat of a moment how important that person is to you and why they're important to you. And when you think about that, the moment has a lot less heat, right? It has a lot less. It does a lot less damage, and you're less likely to say something that you're then going to have to go back and beg forgiveness about or apologize for, right? So you just want to create those peaks. You want to take the edge off some of those peaks in the discussions, and if you learn how to do that really well by regulating your own emotions, it's really going to be helpful, because you can move into the last category I want to talk about today, which is empathy. The more you regulate your emotions when you're dealing and responding with other people, the more you leave pathways available for empathy. And empathy is one of the strongest mental and emotional ties that you can make. Mohsin Hamid says empathy is about finding echoes of another person in yourself. When you truly understand how someone else feels, you can recall, or you can think about maybe how you would feel in the same situation. You can literally walk for a few minutes in their shoes. And when you have empathy for a person, it's very hard for you then to also misunderstand that person. And I just believe that we all have the ability to have empathy for one another. But again, we have to be willing to do the work. We have to be willing to communicate to the point where we begin to understand what's really going on behind what's really going on when we are dealing with each other. Because when we do that, we get feel for them. We get have a sense of passion and empathy. That's the only word for it, for the situation, right? Um, when this feeling occurs, you begin to see where you have things and feelings in common with that other person. And when you have things and feelings in common with that other person, that's what you get to connect over. That's what you get to, that's the bridge that allows you to keep coming back and forth with one another till you have resolution on other things that you may not agree with. I'm not saying that you have to agree with everything and everybody all the time. I am saying that there's something special in everybody and something going on with everybody that you get a chance to interact with. And so if you become good at that emotional regulation, you'll be able to then see those neural pathways for empathy. And as you get better at this, you get better and better and better. You begin to grow your empathy muscles. So, what do you do with that? My suggestion is you start to pay attention to people that you should be paying attention to people that can affect your business and can affect your career uh, tremendously. Really, really thinking about what makes them tick and figure out how they are doing the things that they're doing that you have respect for, not the things that they're doing that you don't respect, but the things that they're doing that you have respect for. If you start to really uncover, those things and really look at those things, it becomes easier for you to collaborate with them, to work with them, to make a contribution that might be meaningful to them, and then to even ask for them to give you something of meaning, of purpose, of relevance. I think that, what's also true in this is we're all looking for what I call our MRS degree, right? We're all looking for meaning, relevance, and significance, right? That's what we're looking for. We all want to do things and contribute to ideas that produce meaning, relevance, and significance. We all want to be meaningful, relevant, and significant. We all want to experience meaning, relevance, and significance. That's how we know the sweetness in life. That's how we know that this thing called life is actually working for us, and we actually are thriving in it. So it turns out that not only can regular experiences of respect strengthen the neural pathways and leave room for empathy and compassion, it makes individuals more attuned to the feelings and needs of others. And it's probably why you think about it, every association exists. Every association in every industry eventually finds people that are flocking together, right, to share their collective experience and their stories in a way that increases their empathy and value to one another. And if you get it right, it's oh so sweet. If you get it wrong, then it can be tragic. That's why I'm saying be very careful and be very um, in, intense. What was the word I'm looking for? I forget the word. Be focused on getting it done. It'll come to me in just a second. But so important that you don't just take any of this stuff for granted. You got to focus and you got to be there. Okay. Um, and that is the 5 elements of, neurological principles and ideas and thoughts that I want to share with you all today. I'm going to repeat them real quickly. Number 1 is increase oxytocin levels. Number 2, reduce stress and anxiety. Number 3, enhance dopamine production. Number 4, improve emotional regulation. And number 5, strengthen your neural pathways for empathy. If you get this, if you do this well, you have a claim to thriving in any organization, in any process, in any strategy that you have. And you will know for a fact that you are generating and contributing and being the solution and the change that you hope to see happen anywhere you are, everywhere you are. And it will always work for you. Now, there's tons of exercises we could talk about and things you can do. But again, if you want more information, they'll ask the questions in the chat, and we won't have an answer it after the show. But after, but I want to give Michelle a chance if she has anything else to add to the conversation to go ahead and do that, and then we're going to close up for today. Any thoughts, Gi?
Oh, absolutely. Wow, wow, wow. One of the things, I was thinking about as a John Maxwell coach, for, oh my God, I mean, 20 years before he started his coaching program, I was creating slides and watching VCS. So that just tells you how far back. But he says something that I attempt to live by, and that is being right at the expense of relationship is never right. And
Right.
so, unless it's illegal, unethical, or immoral, I have to ask myself, is me really going in on this topic, this issue, worth a relationship and a bridge I may not be able to walk back over? And, so I have found that 90% of the time, the answer is it's not worth it. Either because
Yes.
it's a short-term relationship that I don't expect to last,
Right.
because everybody's not supposed to be in your sphere, and that is an indicate that behavior, that issue is an indication most likely that they don't deserve proximity, right? And
Yes.
so I just let it go, because that negative energy, when you put it out, it's out in the world, and I
Right.
always, even when I have negative encounters with people, I try to bring closure to it, so
Yes.
they can keep it if they want to, but I am going to close it up, right? And
Right.
say either I'm sorry, forgive me, this was my intention, sorry that you misunderstood that, or I didn't like the way that you treated me, whatever it is. I close it up and wrap it up, and they can carry it on and be angry if they want to, but I'm free. That's how that's how I handle it. But most of
Awesome.
all, I find that the issues that we think are big are small. And I
Mm-hmm.
read something recently talking about triggers, right? That triggers are these small things that were tied to a big trauma or issue in the past, that we now want to bring that big past trauma to the present.
Right. 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 Right.
And so, it's just something that I just in the last 5 years, I haven't perfected it, but I call it coping mechanisms and strategies, because this is what I love about what you do, coach, is that the missing part of selling, and the missing part, or the forgotten part of entrepreneurship, is people.
Yes.
People do business with people,
Right.
and so many people, I'm trying to get a contract. No, you're not. You're trying to do business with a person who decided that contract, who you're going to be working with and supporting, partnering with day to day. It is a person, and with
Yes.
people come the need to manage these, and have these skills, right? And to learn to navigate. That's the word I'm looking. These situations that oftentimes could be avoided with some self management.
Awesome. Awesome. And it's so true. The word I was looking for earlier was intentional, right? The more we focus intentional on growing that muscle, of that
Exactly.
self-management, right? If we The more we do that intentionally and we focus on that, it affects everything more positively, affects everybody we're with more
Hmm.
positively. And it allows us to not only experience and see our own growth, but allows us to benefit and experience the growth of others, even those when we're managing up, right? When we're looking at people
Hmm.
who are so-called leaders that are on top of us, right? They still have room to grow. My good friend Maulana Karenga said, all of us are ongoing, continuous projects. None of us is
Amen.
a finished. None of us is a finished product. right? So
Amen.
when we start seeing people like, this is the box that you're going to be in, this is the only box you can be in, this is how I'm going to put you. I'm going to put you in a box that's defined just by me for you, and then there
Yeah.
you are, and
Yeah.
that's the only space you have to grow.
Yeah.
That's a limiting thing, and we need to learn to be better when it comes to dealing with one another, and give each other the benefit of the doubt. So, like you said, the people is in every process. If the people isn't in the process, then it ain't good for people. You think about it, right? It's like, how can this
Mhm.
be good for people if people ain't in the process? You're trying to go around people, you're trying to do without people, you're trying to avoid people. Eventually when people and get involved in that process, or they see it or they experience it, they're gonna go, this don't feel right. You know why? Because you didn't
Mhm.
involve them in the process.
Exactly.
And then you trying to thinking about do it all by, and people who try to do all this stuff by themselves. I still hate it for him. I mean, I'm an introvert. I really, really do like being by myself and being self-reflective and all that kind of stuff. However, I recognize that I'm super powerful when I get together with a couple other super powerful people.
I agree.
And
I
we
know
can,
I'm better when I'm around you, brother.
iron sharpens iron, right?
Yes.
So anyway, we're gonna close the show up today. It was great. Kate, thanks so much for coming on the show. If you want to chit chat after it, I really appreciate it. If not, you got better things to do. I understand as well. But I'm gonna put you backstage, and this is the show, everybody. Every once in a while, I get a rock star like Michelle to come on and just grace us with a couple jewels that she drops on us, and I so appreciate the love and the care, because that's what it is for the audience that we participate and engage in. It's love and it's caring. We wouldn't do this, and I wouldn't do this for sure every Friday if I didn't think that there was something special in every entrepreneur, every business leader, every small women-owned business out there. You have opportunities and you have things you can do. Might not come when you want it, might not come the way you want it, but you can generate so much positive activity if you learn some of the things that we've been sharing with you tonight. Next week, we're going to get into the next aspect of the RAP approach. And it's got to be one of my favorite. Okay, there's respect, there's affection, and there's praise, right? I love affection. None of us get enough of it. None of us get enough. I mean, it's easy to call it appreciation, but that's not what it really is. What it really is affection. And we're going to talk about that for about 3, 4 weeks. And then we're going to get into praise, and we're going to close out the thing, hopefully before the end of the year, because we got to get into all the New Year's planning and all that kind of good stuff, so that everybody can be ready for that. Okay, guys, I had a great time. I'm going to end the show right before we get to that 60-minute mark, which will make it easy to share, easy for people to get involved in. And thank you very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you again at Coffee Tea You and Me. This is Coach Powell. We try to make sure that entrepreneurs and business leaders are focused, and they got productivity and they got energy to maximize every effort that they ever can jump on. All right, bye now.